All right. Shalom, keeps our lesson. We're going to give all praise and all glory to our Shimon. I'm sorry about Shimon Kakadash. Up on to start officers and elders of great most that tell us the truth. Peace and blessing to the sincere occupants that's person is truth. And all truth and sincerity on the four corners of the earth to the lead to us. Shalom. Okay, I'm ready. You're out. Hurry out from the great millstone Miami Cap. I come back to the spirit power of Yahweh by Shimon. I was trying to make another quick lesson. Okay, this lesson, it was inspired by a little situation, not a situation, but an encounter at camp. A few hours ago, there was this guy that came up, wanted to, assert his knowledge and his wisdom that he thought he had that was not according to the scriptures. Okay, he wanted to seem all mighty and wanted to seem all smart with his big words, but we understand that, Lord, Lord chooses the meek, all right, to come and prophesy. All right, scriptures say, that the wisdom of this world is foolish to the Most High. Okay, so you may think that you're the brightest of the bunch, or you just a top level scholar, but the Lord ain't dealing with you niggas or those type of people because you start to get prideful and and you start really not to show that you believe in the scriptures, man. All right, here it is. This guy came up, asking about the tribes and how do we know that's a tribe, and there's have to be some type of common value and common thing. That's all bullshit, man. Okay. All right, he was asking, how do you know it's a tribe and this, that, and the third, and ultimately, this dude really didn't believe in the Lord. Okay, they or didn't believe in what the scriptures were saying as well either. All right, trying to weed out what the scriptures say. All right, and then when you ask him, because he came up wanting to teach us. All right, but we the ones doing the teaching. Okay, we are the prophets of the Lord that Lord set up to preach the word, man. All right, if that individual wanted to go preach. Okay, go set up your camp, or go set up your thing down, down the street and teach, man. All right, but this individual came up, wanted to teach us and tell us what it meant to be of the tribe and all this thing. But that's not what the scriptures say, man. All right, and then how we confounded them too, because spirit changed, because he was trying to question us. All right, and we was dealing with him. We was asking him, okay, what's the name of the Lord? He said Allah. All right. And we was telling him, that's not the name. And we was telling him, since you're so wise and so have so much wisdom, what's the name of the sun, man? He was like, oh, so you're saying that the sun can procreate? No, man, if you believe in the Bible, if you're so wise, what's the name of the sun, man? And he just gave this off-ass name, man. All right, and that's, ultimately that just confounded him because if you're so high in knowledge, if you're so high and, you just is so wise individual, how you don't know the name of the Lord or the name of his son, man? Even a regular base Christian can tell you that, man. Even though that's off in the sense, but they still acknowledge that there's a son and there's a father, man. All right, but that's why the title of the lesson is going to be "Wisdom of this world is not comparable to the scriptures," man. Okay, though you may think that, all right, you are just so wise and you're just so smart of an individual, the Lord can expose you, man. All right, and the Lord can show you otherwise as well too. Okay, and I got a couple precepts lined up, and I do have an article too. All right, just showing what a president said. Theodore Roosevelt said that a thorough understanding of the Bible, okay, is worth more than a college education, man. Okay, when you can understand the scriptures to the best, okay, like our apostles and elders, great millstone, and the men of the Lord, when you can decipher those things of the scriptures, that's more important than a college education because people go to school, people go learn years and years to try to understand what the scriptures say. They go to cemetery school trying to crack the codes, all right, but they just can't get it. But once you come into, because what you really need is the spirit of the Lord to really open your eyes to really understand this, man. Okay, that's what it all boils down to. Having the spirit of the Lord to guide you to understand so that that knowledge can support you, man. All right, you thinking that you just the highest of the high. All right, you just so wise. All right, use your wisdom to save you in these times, man. Because having all that knowledge, how is that gonna save you from the impending danger, from the impending destruction? It's not, man. You know. And I got this precept, man. This is 1 Corinthians 3, verse 19, and it says, "For the wisdom of this world is foolishness with the Most High. For it is written, He taketh the wise in their own craftiness." And that's right. Okay, the wisdom of this world is foolishness, man. Counted to the eyes of the Most High. All right, you may think that, oh yeah, just because you just so smart, all right, that just because you so smart and you don't went to school, you don't learn some big words. Now you think that you don't need the Lord, and you just think you just so high-minded individual. All right, this is Isaiah 34, verse 16, and it says, "Seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read. No one of these things shall fail. No one, none shall want her mate. For my mouth it has commanded it, and my spirit it has gathered it." And that's right. No book, okay, that is on the face of the earth can compare unto the, compared to the scriptures, and that is all for a reason. Okay, that's for a reason that no other book can compare to the book of the, scriptures, man, the Bible. Okay, and and you can do a search and say, what's the number one sold book in the world? That's going to be the Bible, and it's for a reason, man. There's no other book that can give you life, wisdom, how to eat, how to heal yourself. All right, how to, what's going to tell you that, certain prophecies before it happens. There's no other book that is on the face of the earth that can do that, man. All right, here it is. This individual thought that he was just some high-minded individual, but then at the end got confounded. All right, and I got one last precept. I didn't want to make this too long, just a quick hit. All right, this is Isaiah 33 and verse 6, and it says, "And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of that times. And strength of salvation, the fear of the Lord is the treasure. It's his treasure." And that's right, man. Because the wisdom and knowledge is going to be, your stability in this time. Having the wisdom and knowledge of the scriptures, not having the wisdom and knowledge of this world and this world science, okay? Because that's not going to help you. Because we did ask him, what are you going to do when the nuke comes? He said, God's going to send nukes. Yes, man. That shows you how wise that individual thought he was, man. Okay, because knowing, that the Lord's going to protect you in these times, that the Lord's going to save you in this time, is what's going to save you. Okay, it's like it's what's going to keep you, man. Not being the smartest guy in the world and having the highest IQ. All right, but that was just a quick little lesson that I wanted to make, man. I read the title of the lesson is going to be "The Wisdom of this World is non-comparable to the Scriptures," man. All right, the knowledge of this world is not, this science of this world is not going to save you from famine, pestilence, man. Having the knowledge and wisdom of the Scriptures, okay, is what's going to really save you, man. All right, so hey, Akim, no one's lesson is edifying. But that I do want to give all praise and all glory to Yahweh, Hashem, Yahushua, Hashem, Kakadash. Double honor to our apostle, Elder Graham Milson, that taught us the truth. Peace and blessings to sincere Akim. So with that, I do want to say,